Okay, and make this full screen. So, let's see. So let me go through the lesson first, and then we'll go through the examples first, and I'm going to do some samples with you, and then you're going to have an assignment that'll be due on the 9th. All right, 2.087. You don't have to open it right now. We can open it in a minute. Just do some reviews. Compound sentences using conjunctive adverbs. This is all about removing comma splices. Um, we have learned how to correct a comma splice in two different ways so far. We reviewed them. You might have covered it before. I'm sure you have. But we just have to review them for our sentences because it's very important in our writing to have different types of sentence structures, from simple sentences, simple short sentences, to compound sentences, to complex sentences, to compound complex sentences, and back and forth. It's a sophisticated form of writing. And as juniors, you're expected to know the difference between formal writing and informal writing, and you are expected to be able to switch back and forth when needed. Okay. The first thing we did a couple of weeks ago was we corrected a comma splice by removing the comma and splitting the sentence into two separate sentences. Let me get rid of myself right here. For example, okay, we took a sentence that had a comma splice, and by removing the comma and splitting the two sentences into two separate sentences. For example, here's the example right here. This is incorrect, it's a comma splice. One would think there are no vampires, comma, splice. One can be very wrong. Right? So that we needed to correct those sentences, a sentence like that. A comma alone is not strong enough to connect two independent clauses, and two independent clauses are just two complete sentences that can stand alone. Keep biting my foot, cat. I'm going to squash it out. Um, Incorrect. One would think there are no vampires, comma. One can be very wrong. Sorry about this. It got moved over during the interface. One way to correct the comma splice, as we already know, is to separate the independent clause into two separate sentences. So what we did the first assignment was we took a comma splice sentence, we made it two separate sentences and corrected it. One would think there are no vampires, period. One can be very wrong, period. That's how we corrected them the first time. Now, a lot of the problem with this is a lot of students weren't reading the directions or following or watching the slides, and a lot of students were making these into they would put comma and they were grammatically correct, but they weren't following the directions in assignments. Make sure you follow the directions in the assignments. There's a purpose, there's a method to our madness. The second method of correcting a comma splice that we did was by adding a coordinating conjunction after the comma splice. For example, we took an incorrect sentence. One would think there are no vampires, comma. One can be very wrong. Of course, it's a comma splice right there, circled. By adding a coordinating conjunction after the comma, the sentence becomes an acceptable compound sentence. Choose one of the following coordinating conjunctions: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And we placed it after the comma, and we corrected the sentence by making it into a compound sentence. One would think there are no vampires, comma, we added yet. One can be very wrong. Right? So that's the next thing that we worked on regarding comma splices. And today we're going to move on to the third form of writing comma splices, correcting comma splices, which is really good because it moves us into writing complex sentences in a couple weeks. The third method we will review for correcting a comma splice is adding a semicolon and a conjunctive, got cut off, before the comma splice. All right. So we're going to correct sentences like this. One would, yes, so. We're going to change the sentences into something like this. One would think there are no vampires. We're going to add semicolons. We're going to add conjunctive adverbs. We're going to keep the comma. One would think there are no vampires, semicolon. Nonetheless, comma, one can be very wrong. There are many conjunctive adverbs that we can use here in the box with the blue space, accordingly, anyway, nevertheless, nonetheless, consequently, and you will have access to those on the assignment. And we're going to go through the assignment and review everything that I just covered right now and do some practice work together, and then I'll let you work independently. All right, so once again, we're taking sentences like this on the bottom that are incorrect. One would think there are no vampires, comma splice. One can be very wrong. So we're going to take this incorrect comma splice and we're going to change it into a compound sentence with a conjunctive adverb that will look like this. One would think there are no vampires, semicolon. Nonetheless, comma, one can be very wrong. Okay, so the sentence would look like this when we're done. Ow, I'm going to smash you. Okay. Okay, so let's practice a few before you work on your own. So go into the agenda or into assignments and get your copy of 2.08.7. 2.087. I'm going to type it in the chat. Oh my God. That's a link that might work also. All right, so here's 2.08.7. And hopefully you're not having any problems getting to the assignment. Okay, great. It works. Thank you. Okay, avoiding the comma splice by using conjunctive adverbs. Read the following sentences. Incorrect comma splice. One would think there are no vampires, comma, one may be very wrong. That's a sentence that we were working with in the video slides. It's corrected by adding a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. Now, if you click on the link right here, conjunctive adverb, you can open and preview and you get a list of all the subordinating conjunctions. I'm working on a different laptop today, so I don't have the luxury of a big screen. Okay. And we corrected it. One would think that there are no vampires, semicolon, however, comma, one may be very wrong. Incorrect comma splice. The vampires are everywhere. They hide in the shadows. Okay, comma splice right there. Needs to be corrected because the comma alone cannot connect two independent clauses. The vampires are everywhere, semicolon. Furthermore, comma, they hide in the shadows. And that's very true in this novel. If you ever want to read the whole novel, you never know what the vampires are doing because the novel is from a series of letters from different people, and different people keep disappearing and turning into zombies. And you know there are vampires out there, but you just don't know what's going on because the vampires don't write any letters that we read. Okay, incorrect comma splice. Being kidnapped by a vampire may have its good points, comma, it is probably deadly. So we have a comma splice here. We need to correct the sentence. And the way that we're working on it in this assignment is adding a conjunctive adverb. Being kidnapped by a vampire may have its good points. So we've got a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb nevertheless. It is probably deadly. All right, so this is what we're working on. Now the directions do not say add a comma and, comma but, comma for. It says add a conjunctive adverb with a semicolon before it. So follow the directions. All right, here's a formula for this. You have an independent clause, which is just a sentence by itself, complete sentence, with a semicolon, a conjunctive adverb, a comma, and the independent clause, another sentence. Count Dracula, for example, Count Dracula has the power to silence the wolves, semicolon. Moreover, comma, he can shift his shape into that of a vampire bat. And the sentence altogether looks like this. Count Dracula has the power to silence the wolves, semicolon. Moreover, comma, he can shift his shape into that of a vampire bat. All right, so you start including a couple of these paragraphs in your analysis later on, and then your writing's becoming very sophisticated in structure, which is great. Okay, so our task for this assignment, 2.08.7, correct the following comma splices by adding a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. And you have these links all over the place to help you find them. All right. Accordingly, also, anyway, besides, furthermore, henceforth, meanwhile, nevertheless, all these over here, these two rows of subordinate conjunctions. Subordinate conjunctions are conjunctive adverbs. I got to fix that. Okay, so here's an example. Let's do this together. In the passage from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, the narrator is a man who is taken hostage by Count Dracula, and he does not know why he is imprisoned in Dracula's castle. This has got to be fixed right here. Sorry about that. Okay. So we want to take this sentence and we want to add a semicolon and add a conjunctive adverb to it. So I'm just going to copy and paste it here. In the passage from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, the narrator is a man who is taken hostage by Count Dracula. Okay, so here's a comma splice problem right here. Go. So what I want to do is, and I'll make this a different color so you can see it clearly. After Count Dracula, you're going to add a semicolon. Okay. And then I need a conjunctive adverb. Man who is taken hostage by Count Dracula. He does not know why he is in prison in Dracula's castle. Okay, somebody pick a word for me. You can type it in the chat or you can just unmute yourself. So I need a conjunctive adverb here. Okay, thus would be, thus is a good one, but does it go? Thus he does not, thus means like, therefore, he doesn't know he's, okay, so that one may not go with it. However, he doesn't know why he's in prison. Hostage by Dracula. However would work, I think, yep. Okay, so let's try however. We'll save thus for another one. But thank you for sharing. Okay, good. So in the passage from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, the narrator is a man who is taken hostage by Count Dracula, semicolon, however, comma. He does not know why he is imprisoned in Dracula's castle. Good. We do example 2. A copy. I'm going to just do it here. All right, I'm going to take this out. And fix that as well. Okay, in the passage from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, the narrator is a man who's taken hostage. Oh wait, that's what we just did. What happened here? Yeah, this is a mistake. I'm going to take this out. Sorry about that sample. I'll do one of the other ones with you guys. All right, let's go to the independent practice and I'll do one of these with you, and then you can work on your own. So there are 10 sentences altogether, and I'll go through one more and then I'll let you work on your own, and I'll break you up into breakout rooms. Um, okay, so number one says the narrator is a hostage who questions his own sanity, comma splice. He does not convey that he's definitely insane. All right, so he does not convey that he's definitely insane. Okay, take this copy, I'm going to paste it here. And right here's a comma splice. So here's where I need to add a semicolon. All right. And I need a conjunctive adverb. All right. So for number one, somebody pick a conjunctive adverb for me. Or several of them will work. There's not just one that would work. Okay. So this is kind of an opposite thing, right? This is like you have to find something that is equal to the word but. The narrator is a hostage who questions his own sanity, but he does not convey he's definitely insane. So we need a word that means but from that list of conjunctive adverbs. Anybody want to take another shot? Meanwhile, you want to find one that means furthermore would I mean one that means but. Meanwhile, furthermore, however, certainly, furthermore. Let's try furthermore. They have to make sense, okay? The narrator is a hostage who questions his own sanity. Furthermore, furthermore is still a little awkward. Okay, keep trying, guys.
Do you want to put the list back up for them?
Yeah, thank you. You want to find a word that means something like uh, okay, so he's questioning his own sanity, but he doesn't definitely say he's insane, right? So it's got to be something that means kind of comparing and contrasting. Keep trying, folks. No? All right. Still need something better. Nonetheless is getting close. Okay. He's a man who questions his own sanity. Oh man. There we go. However, good. All right, good. However, there's been however. Okay. Now let's look at this closely before I let you go and work on your own. Okay. Note we have the word sanity. Then we have semicolon. There's no space here. There's a space after the semicolon. There's no space before the comma. There's a space after the comma. All right. Make sure that you get that correct, because you guys are learning a lot of keyboard tricks and skills along with while we're working remotely, which is really good because we don't have keyboard classes. Okay. So you may continue working, and